Hello, everybody. How are you? I hope y'all are doing okay tonight. Um, this is part one because I'm not gonna give you all the whole thing right now because it's a lot to take in. Okay, I'm gonna be presenting some new ideas and a new perspective about vulnerability, and I want to give you time to digest and to think about it and all that stuff. So. Plus, I ain't gonna be on here for very long because I'm tired than a one-legged man at a kicking contest. Is that how they say it? I'm so tired. All right, so a vulnerability. Now I began looking into this because of the work that I'm doing. Okay, so I do cybersecurity policy. I've just started doing some virtual CISO work, and I'm doing RMF stuff, and a lot of fun and exciting things, right? And in cybersecurity, one thing that all of us have seen and heard, and seems to be the reason for a lot of the work we do, is because of vulnerabilities, right? Now, we have been told, all right, we've been told that a vulnerability is a weakness. All right, we've been told that, by authorities, and we believe it, as we tend to do when authorities tell us stuff. We believe it. Oh, hey, Maddox, how are you? We believe stuff, when they tell us that. Well, I'm of I've come to learn that I don't have to believe it. Okay, I do not have to believe what authorities say. And with that knowledge, I go and I look for other things, especially if stuff just don't sound right to me. Okay. So a vulnerability. Now we have a whole MITRE and DHS have come up with this absolutely amazing site. It's called the Common Weakness Enumeration, the CWE. A lot of us know about the CVEs and all that. If you have not been to the CWE website, you got to go there. Okay, it's good. It's really good. I'm telling you. I mean, there's a lot of really great, and they go into so much detail. We talk about the MITRE attack framework 24/7. Okay, security people. Okay, some people never heard of the CWEs. Okay, and that's the site right there that's created for us, to help us come up with different security tools and all that. You know what I mean? I don't get into that right now, but go look at the CWE. So now they have a list of like the top 20, I think it's the 10 or 20 weaknesses in 2020. And I believe they do it like every year. So let me just give you three of them, okay? Three of the top weaknesses that DHS and MITRE have said that, they see is seen a lot, okay, in organizations. One is missing authorizations, okay? Another one is cross-site request forgery. Hey, Diamond, so glad to see you. Another one is null pointer, oh Lord, how you say that? Dereference, okay? Now listen, you ain't gotta know what all that stuff is, okay? But they have a whole list there. And, a lot of people do that. I think, who is it, OSCP? They do like an application weakness list or something like that. So the point is, we have out there a whole world of weaknesses, okay, that we can go to and see, all the flaws and stuff that are in our hardware, our software, the people, all that, okay? Now let me present something else to you. That a vulnerability is not a weakness. All right, now let me tell you why I say that. Do y'all remember, if you watched the video I did where I talked about the difference between physical and logical, okay, if you watch that, then you remember that I said physical, when you talk about hardware, physical, okay, that's the stuff that's not supposed to change, right? and like the memory, and like the stuff that when you do that hardware root of trust, you know, it's like, yes, this is what it is. You know, there's no malware in here, nobody trying to trick you. This machine is going to do what it's supposed to do. All right. So, and in the human body, I said what you can compare to that in the human body is like our blood, right? Our DNA, the stuff that is not supposed to change. Because if it changes, then you're not you. Do you see what I'm saying? If your DNA changes, you're not you anymore. Okay. So that's like our hardware. Okay. And I said the logical stuff, you know, that's like the software, that's the instructions, right? That people write, the programs and coding and all that, okay? And the instructions change the state of the hardware. Like that's what software does. Software changes the state of the hardware, okay? So you got a whole bunch of stuff going on in the hardware that wasn't going on before, okay? Before the application got there, right? It's taking up memory and, you know, running all these processes that weren't there before and all that. And I said, in the human body, what can we compare to that? Okay, something that changes the state of the hardware, which again is stuff that's not supposed to change. Okay, and that's like our emotions, right? When you get mad or sad or depressed or excited or whatever, your pressure changes. Like you go through physiological changes. You know, your hardware changes depending on how you feel, on your emotions. You know what I'm saying? And emotions can change in a minute. You know, they really, and people can make you feel a certain way. Okay, you see what I'm saying? Now, is it a vulnerability that our physiology changes when, you know, when we're introduced or when we feel a certain way? You know, would you call that a vulnerability? I don't know. It depends, right? It depends on what it makes you do. If you're going off on somebody or something, you know, I mean, it depends, right? But the point is, the reason why we are able to feel these ups and downs, and, you know, whether we say they're good or bad or whatever, doesn't matter, is because of vulnerability. Like, that's why those changes can happen. Okay. Now, if you look up what a vulnerability is, just in the dictionary, don't go to NIST. Okay, go to like a regular old dictionary. All right, all of vulnerability, and even with the NIST one, all it is any aspect of your information system, which includes people. Information systems include people. Any aspect of that is susceptible to change. That's it. It's not rocket science. Don't make it rocket science, because it's not. Okay. A vulnerability is just any place where changes can easily happen. Vulnerabilities, there's no resistance where there's a vulnerability. It's like an open door, an open space. Now let me tell you, now with that, right? If you think about your front door, okay? Take the door off. What you have there is a hole that's shaped like a rectangle, okay? That hole is the vulnerability, not the door. It's not the broken lock. You know, it's the hole itself. Okay, that's the vulnerability. So all kind of stuff can happen there, right? In that hole, right? Because that's the vulnerability. Now, to you know, when you assess risk and stuff like that, you say, well, I've got to put a door on this because this ain't a good neighborhood or something, you know. So, and some people don't even lock their doors, right? Or some people don't even have doors. It just depends on where you live. You know what I mean? So that's the vulnerability. Now, let me tell you about it this way. If you think about, now I'm giving all these metaphors and stuff because I'm going to need you to get this. And this is why it's just part one. But think about it this way too. If you have snow or ice, water, and steam, okay, all of those are made of the same thing, right? H2O, 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. That's what all that is, okay? It's just H2O in different forms, right? So depending on the conditions, depends on what H2O is going to be, whether it's going to be steam, ice, or just water. Okay? And those conditions can change. A vulnerability is the same thing. It depends on the conditions as to whether or not it's going to be a weakness or something else. All right? It just depends. All right? The reason why I really feel if we as security people are going to start being as creative as we want to be, okay, and quit trying to follow behind hackers to do what they do, but actually do what we do, because we have creative minds as well. We're going to have to stop thinking about things in certain ways, okay? Because if you think about a vulnerability as a weakness, that sounds like I can't do nothing with that. All I can do is hope and pray nobody finds it, okay? All I can do is, hope that a hacker doesn't, find a 0 day or something, and now I got a whole bunch of. There's nothing I can do with a vulnerability. You see what I'm saying? When we describe it and we see it as a weakness, what am I going to do with a weakness? You know what I mean? So other than harden it, like there's nothing creative I can do there. Okay, but they do some creative shit over there, don't they? Don't they? What do they do with holes in walls? Okay, they come in and they wreak havoc, right? So one of the things I said in my other video is we need to be just as skilled at finding 0 days as these other people. Why can't we find it? And then take advantage of the vulnerability, because it doesn't have to be a weakness. It don't have to be. And we don't have to, there's two kinds, okay? You have your front door, you got that hole there, where you put the door so you can go in and out, people come in and then come out and all that. The hole is supposed to be there. The hole in that wall where you put a door, it's by design. It's supposed to be there. It's part of the function of the damn house, okay? Like, that's how you get in and out. That's how you bring your groceries in. That's how you kick your kids out. I mean, all of that, okay? It's supposed to be there. So, but it is it can be it is a vulnerability, but it can be used for nefarious purposes, okay? Which is how we do the risk assessment, and all that stuff. And I'll get to all that, in a different video. But what if you lived in a mansion? Let's say you live in a mansion or a very large home, okay? You know about all, where all your windows are, where all the openings are, for the doors and all. Or you think there's actually a door in your house that you have no idea it's there. Okay, there's an opening in a wall. You have no idea it's there. You don't know. Okay, it's a vulnerability too, but it's unknown. Like you have no idea that it's there, and that's what we call 0 days, right? When other people come around and say, "Oh, look, they got a door back here, and there's nothing there. No guards, no. It's not even a door. We got a hole right here. Ain't no door on it, nothing." Okay, so what can we do? So you have the known vulnerabilities, which are there by design. They're supposed to be there. Just think about how the command line works, right? And how you have your kernel space and your user space, and how the kernel space has to do stuff when the commands, all that stuff, right? You have openings every now and then, right? Stuff has to open to let things in. You got your input and output and all that. That's by design. You can't harden your damn kernel so it can't do nothing. Like, what you gonna have an operating system for? Many of the vulnerabilities are there because we need them there. It's functionality, right? The more vulnerabilities you have, the more functionality a lot of times you have. Okay, the ability to change, to do different things, right? And don't we like that? Because that's what a vulnerability is. It allows you to change. Okay, if you just think about a person, like you, okay, if you have an open mind, that's your vulnerability. Is that a terrible thing? Is that a weakness? for you to have an open mind? I mean, it depends. It depends on the conditions. Again, if you have an open mind, you get into a Jim Jones type situation or another situation where, you know, he's telling you something and you know, you're just soaking it in and it ends up being, you know, you end up being brainwashed or something like that, right? Then, okay. But at the same time, you know, if you're trying to become an entrepreneur, you know, and you're getting out of a situation where, you know, maybe you grew up in poverty or something, or you didn't have a lot of good role models or whatever, but you're keeping an open mind thinking, hey, listen, I know that I can do this, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and, you know, read these books and go to this school and save my money and do all that. And I'm not just gonna be locked in to that. I mean, you know, is that a vulnerability? Yeah, it's a vulnerability. But what did you use it for? Okay? What did you use it for? Okay? So there's no resistance there. Like I said, there's no resistance with a vulnerability. And we, blue team, purple team, you know, those of us who are protecting and defending can discover and use unknown vulnerabilities. Okay, we can find, you know, where, and everything has it. There is no time ever that you will be able to plug every hole. Okay, if you want to be 100% secure with no vulnerabilities at all, you were at one time 100% secure with no vulnerabilities. That was before you got here. You remember where you were before you were born? 100% secure, okay, but no functionality. You couldn't do nothing. You see what I'm saying? If you want to be able to change and grow and all this stuff, you absolutely have to have vulnerability, okay? So do y'all remember? So there's two movies here that I want to give an example, and then I'm done chatting a little bit. Lord of the Rings. I love them. Love Lord of the Rings, all three of them. Remember the second one? Not the Two Towers. That's what it was. The Two Towers, right? When Saruman, right? They're about to do the war with the king, and he went to Helm's Deep. Was, you know, and if you haven't seen this, then I don't know where you've been, okay? But go look at Lord of the Rings, the second one. Helm's Deep, they went to Helm's Deep, right? And the guy was telling the wizard, Helm's Deep, that nobody can get through it, it's impenetrable. I mean, they got that, the information system is stick from east to west, okay? Can't nothing get in, right? But he said that, but there is this one place, okay, and remember that, so it was where the water came out or the sewage or whatever, okay? He's like, there's that one weak spot. And that's when, you know, the orcs, they had the bomb and all that stuff, right? So there was that one. Now, there's another scenario just like that, but it was in Game of Thrones, right? Remember when Daenerys Targaryen, the lady with the dragons, she was about to go and, you know, wreak some havoc, okay? And Tyrion was telling her about the Red Keep, where they were from, where his dad was from and all that stuff. It's impenetrable. They got a whole army. Can't nobody get in and this and that and whatever. He said, except there's this one place, you know, that I made, you know, because his dad wouldn't let him have, you know, women come in or whatever. But he made a back door is what he made, okay, in the castle that nobody knew about, okay, except him and those few people, you know, who would go in and out. So those were like vulnerabilities in this enormous, very strong structure that if you notice in both of those scenarios, okay, the way that people found out was somebody told them, okay? It wasn't a 0 day. Somebody knew about that. So that's one way. Somebody's telling you there's a back door, solar winds. Somebody's telling you, hey, there is a way in. All right, so that's the first way. Somebody let you know that is there, okay? Now, the second one is, so really nobody knows. Now, it wasn't designed in there. Maybe over time, you know how over time, you know, stuff can happen and things just become, you know, more susceptible to change, right? They're not as, like whatever was there before, whatever was designed there before, like it's not really there anymore, okay? So that can happen too. And you really, like nobody really knows that it's there. However, if you have a hole in your home, okay, let's say you just had a storm or something, right? You think everything is okay, but actually there's a hole there, like something happened to where, I don't know, a brick came out or something, okay? How would you know? You know, how would you know there was something? There's a 0 day in your house, okay? There's a vulnerability, and nobody knows about it. How would you find it? Okay. Well, first of all, now here you would get to like the threat hunting hypothesis, right? First of all, you would create something and say, okay, listen, we just had a storm. You know, these are the conditions right here. I'm going to create a hypothesis and say, you know, if somebody does get in here, then they've gotten, or if somebody is in here, then they've gotten in because of a vulnerability that was created by the storm we just had. Now, what's the plan for us to find that vulnerability? What would be different? Now, something's going to be different, because with every breach, I don't care if it's C, I, A, M, Q, R, it doesn't matter. Whatever breach occurs, it starts as an integrity breach. Every single one, because something is changing. You've changed something, right? And that's what integrity is. It's not just the data. It's not just the data. And we talked about this before too. Something, if you have another process, program, whatever, on your network, it's using some resources. I don't care how little it is using, but it's using some resources. And it's changing. Something has changed. That's an integrity issue, okay? Something integral has happened. And there has to be a way, what is that? I forget his name. He started like the forensic stuff or whatever, but he said every contact leaves a trace, okay? Every contact leaves a trace. There is something there to tell you that, okay, something has changed, and that's where you get your baseline, you know, and also all this other stuff comes together. The primary thing I want to bring out here, and next time we're going to talk about this command and control mindset that we have, and how that too is keeping security people from really doing what we need to do. Okay, that mindset is really stopping us in our tracks. Okay, but what I want to be clear on today is that a vulnerability is not a weakness. Okay, it's an opportunity or it's not even an opportunity. It's a place where change can happen, period. Whether it's a vulnerability in your code, in your program, in your hardware, in the people in the organization, okay, in leadership, in the policy. It's a place where, you know, something else can happen. It's not good and it's not bad. It just depends on, you know, and it's not just a person either, okay? And for part 2, that's what I'm going to talk about, right? Because a vulnerability, if you think of the 3 little pigs, okay, you know, and the homes that they had, right, and which one was more vulnerable to the conditions, you know, that were around. Right? I mean, stuff can happen that's not man-made. They have nothing to do with hackers and stuff, right? That can come in and wreak havoc with your systems. So we can't forget that, okay? And we can't feel like, well, the only thing we gotta, you know, control for is other people. When it's not. Actually, other people on the outside, okay? Because that's not true at all. We really do need a more holistic picture of what's going on. And like I said in the Blacks in Cyber, not Blacks, was it? Yeah, it was Blacks in Cyber. We're not number one as much as we want to be. We're not. Okay. So I've gone to like Japan and Denmark and all that to see how they actually do cybersecurity. And it's different. I'm telling you, it's very, very different than what we do. All right. And they're like some of the top countries in the world with the best, you know, protections out there for people and their organizations, you know. Is that all I wanted to say about this? So I'm going to have a very organized, non-rambling explanation of this in the course that's going to be coming out hopefully by the end of this month. But I wanted to run that by you all and then just to hear myself talk about it, okay? But it's really, I'm very, very excited about what we can do with this and what we can do with this the CWE, with the list of weaknesses, right? If we go to that thing, and first of all, the things that are listed there are not the weakness, they're the things that happen within the vulnerability that's already there, that was there before. Because if the thing changed, there had to be a vulnerability there first, okay? So now we got to get to that. We got to get to that root so there are root vulnerabilities underneath the whole list, okay, of vulnerabilities, which is the kind of work that we need to do, you know, as security people. We need to do that kind of work to find that out. What is that root vulnerability that's under there, okay? Which again is not a weakness. What aspect is enabling change to happen here when we don't want it to happen, or at least we don't want this kind of change to happen, you know? That's so we need to ask a lot of different questions than we ask right now. But all that is going to be in that learning resource that is going to be available soon. So thank y'all for listening. I know I have like amazing ideas that are hard to grasp sometimes, possibly, but that's okay. We're going to get it. But I'm going to be back, maybe not tomorrow, but later on, and we're going to do a part 2 about what is a vulnerability. And we're going to talk about the decision-making tools. The primary one, because our definition of cyber, a lot of stuff from cyber came from DoD, okay? And to a hammer, everything is a nail. Everything is a nail to a hammer. So when DoD defines cyber, guess what? It's a war. It's cyber war, honey, okay? It's cyber war, all right? So what do we have? We have a command and control, decision-making structure, right? Like a bureaucracy. For those of you who work in federal agency, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about, all right? A bureaucracy, command and control. All the control is where? It's at the top. All the control is with, and when I say control, I mean decision-making and resources, right? And the ability to influence. It's all at the top. When do we hear command and control when we talk about cybersecurity? It's normally when we're talking about attackers, right? These bot masters and folks creating these web shells all over the place, you know, and just doing, you know, wreaking havoc. That's what we hear. And what can they do? What can they do? They have whole servers, don't they? They can just give out, just like an army, give out directions, and what's going to happen? Stuff is going, you know, they're in command and control. So we gotta, I mean, let's talk about that, because it doesn't have to be that way. There is a different decision-making process that we actually should be using, and not command and control, okay? Even though everything seems to be set up that way. Ooh, ciao. But I'll talk about that in part 2, okay? So thank you for being here. For those of you watching the replay, please like and subscribe if you have not subscribed yet, so y'all can hear about part 2 and all the other exciting stuff that I have coming down the pike. So thank you again for being here, and y'all have an amazing night, and I will see you next time.